everyone's here, it looks like.
That's stunning.
Yeah.
Let me start this out by just telling you one thing. The other day as I was searching along the recapture rim, I came on a hill and the Lord confirmed to me that this was the spot that Francis Hammond with a group of 7 other men, including Thels Haskell and others from Bluff in 1886, had come out of Bluff up recapture to explore other possibilities of settlements here in what we call San Juan. And as he came up on that spot and looked up over the mesa, it's a beautiful view down there. And the Spirit said to Walter, he looked at it through spiritual eyes. He'd been around the world 2 or 3 times, been in New
Not
York,
Walter,
Hawaii.
but Francis.
Francis Hammond, excuse me. Francis Hammond had been around the world and Hawaii, etc. But he said this was the most, he lifted his hat in the air and said this is the most beautiful spot he had ever seen.
Wow.
And so
That's cool.
I think as we drove up here just now, you got that same feeling. And so the tunnel and all these different projects all kind of fit together. It was the Lord's doings. A young man, Albert Lyman, who had great influence on all of us, and Terry's grandpa, said he came as a boy of I don't know, 14 or 15. Do you remember, Terry, from the range? The range was out in towards the Colorado River in around Lake Pagreat in that area on the Hole in the Rock Trail. He came to Bluff. It's a long ways for a 14, 15-year-old boy. And as he came into the house, he said to his mother, "Where's Pa?" She said, "Pa is with Uncle Walter." Pa was Albert's father, Platt, and Walter were brothers. He said with Walter Lyman in their buggy going up on the White Mesa to survey a ditch out of Johnson Creek. And so he followed them up and he helped them with that survey. Donna here yet?
I don't know where they were. They must have taken them.
Anyway, Donna's father, Norman Nilsson, told me this story. He said that Walter, as they were surveying, had a dream, and he dreamt that the water was flowing out right over here where the ditch comes through, right over here in this low spot. And he piled up a pile of rocks there where he saw in his dream the water flowing down what we call the upper ditch. And so that survey they did with a 16.5-foot long board, which is a rod, and one leg was an inch longer than the other, so every rod you went, you could drop the ditch an inch and the water would flow. So they started at the right place up Johnson Creek to actually come out here. I'm not sure how they did that, unless they went backwards with the survey. They eventually came to this hill over here. As we go up over the hill, you're right near the edge of that. Right down beneath that highway is a 200 or 300 foot long tunnel. This is not the tunnel, but it is the first tunnel that the Lymans and others made. They had the ditch to that tunnel in 1898 or 9 when the Lymans were called on missions for the church. Walter went to Chicago. Platt went to be the European mission president out of Liverpool, England, as I recall. And they were gone a couple of years. And so they had put the tools that they were digging this tunnel with into the entrance, however far they got. And when they came back, they were all gone. And so somebody had taken them with that. Walter went ahead and went back to Salt Lake and bought more tools, and they finished this ditch through, and the ditch onto the mesa that had been surveyed in 1903. So the water was flowing onto the mesa in 1903, but nobody would come to stay there. And so one day Walter came over to the LC Ranch, which is just over that way over the hill, and came to the little house Albert had spent 3 years building for Lel to propose to her, and they had had their first child by then. And as Walter came into their home, he said, "I'm calling you on a mission to go to the settlement side of the edge of the cedars, and build your home there, and give up what you're doing in the LC Ranch," which they did. And so they took their roof off of that house to use in making a tent and so on there at the in April of 1905, where just in the north playground of the elementary school was where that tent was, and they later built a home there before they moved over to the Nick Lovis place where the visitor center is now. Anyway, just a little history on that. But Norman said that when the Lymans told him this story, that they did in their survey come to that pile of rocks that he had dreamt was there. So a lot of these things are the Lord's plans way ahead. Let me just conclude with one thought. Blanding has not reached its size. In talking with different ones how big Blanding will be, at the time, this was a brother that had Walter as a home teaching partner, and it was Riley Hurst. Riley asked this young lady's father, how big would Blanding become? And Walter says, well, they began to look at sizes. Is it going to be as big as Moab? Well, it's going to be however big Moab was then. It'll be that size or bigger. Is it going to be as big as Price? Well, not quite, but it's bigger than what it is now. And they're going to need water. And there's 2 or 3 prophecies. One was given by Walter Burnham, who was a patriarch, lived in Kirtland, New Mexico at the time, came to Blanding. My grandpa and Grandma Guymon told me this story 2 or 3 times, that he said in a state conference that there would be tent cities around Blanding. Later, Albert himself wrote about that tent city, that people would come here from refuge from the storm, and that there would be many people come here, and that we need to get ready for them. So I think if you have any influence with the city officials and talking with council people, mayors, etc., we've done a good job on building different things, but I don't believe we're through yet. There needs to be 2 or 3 more reservoirs built. There's 2 or 3 sites up Johnson Creek I could show you. My Uncle Dave, who's there you are, Beverly's father, showed me a couple sites, and so they're there. It's just a matter of spending a few million to get them done. And compared with water, you can't buy water if you don't have it. And you got to have it stored on good years. Like this year, we could have built 2 or 3 more of these reservoirs, and that doesn't happen too often. Anyway, that's my thought.
Very good. Thank you.
Love it.
Any
Gary, we
questions?
appreciate you knowing all these details. You're amazing to retain all that.
Well, the Lord's amazing. He helped me gather them, and you better record them, because how long is
She did.
Gary, can we go in here and walk to see the ditch?
It'll take it. Well, we could drive in and then walk over to see the ditch.
Maybe we better make this
it would
another
be-
time. We better